Morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Casey. My name is Casey Samson. I run the Casey Samson Team here at Samson Properties. That's a lot of Samsons in one introduction. We do Coffee with Casey once a month to take a breath and regroup and hopefully educate both the agents at Samson, the clients that we have, the followers at Samson Properties, and Connie Samson, who's our number one follower on Facebook and whatnot. She's always liking everything that we do. So what I want to talk about today is extremely important. And can we close that door? Because I'm going to be talking loud. And actually, I always talk loud. So, but what I want to hit today, and I know we talked in the promotion about talking about the different business models that real estate agents have and yada, yada, yada. And I will get to that. And towards the end, we're going to get to that. But there's some very important stuff we need to talk about first. And the first thing is the market update. Where are we in the spring? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer market? Is the inventory outpacing the demand? What can we expect? And, the bottom line is at 33%, if 33% of the homes are under contract, we have a stable market. If 50% of the homes are under contract, we have a seller's market. It means 1 out of 2 houses out there is under contract. Now, a lot of them are overpriced, and some of them just came on the market. So that tells us that it's a really serious seller's market. So right this second, in the markets we deal in, we are at 50%, which tells me that we're in a seller's market. That doesn't mean we could do stupid things. But we are clearly in a seller's market. But what I want to talk about today is we'll go over the market. Why is the first 30 days so important? Okay, I'm going to show you some charts and graphs here in a minute. I want to talk about the most important document in real estate. And I'm telling you, when I talk about, when you think about real estate, there are tens of thousands of dollars at stake in each transaction. And how you capture, how you're the winner, how you get that tens of thousands of dollars is extremely important. And there's one document that is the catalyst for all of, hey, am I talking like that Beto guy, or what's that guy's, O'Rourke or whatever, where he's always handing all like this? Am I talking like that? Okay. All right. In real estate, this week, on 4 transactions, we saved or made sellers $180,000. 4 transactions with one document. So I'm going to disclose that document to you today, and we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to go over the examples of how this saves people money and how you use it to make money. I am going to give you an update on that de-aging of the house. You know how we talk about if you de-age your house. We took a house that was 2002 and de-aged it. We took away certain things, and we did certain things, and now it looks like a 2010 house. Because the seller wanted $1.45 million, the house was only worth $1.385 million. If it was built in 2002. But if we improve it to 2010, we actually got within a whisker of $1.45 million. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that because there were a couple examples this week on houses that we launched and made 30, 40, 50. I think one of them made $60,000 over what their as-is price would have been. So, or what their existing condition would have returned them. So we will talk about the de-aging. We're going to talk about the business models. I'll get into the, who pays 6% and who pays what and all of that. And I'm going to talk about a regional, a lot of people out there know somebody in real estate. Well, you don't hire friends. And you don't hire friends, and you don't hire neighbors, you don't hire associates, you hire professionals. There's so much money at stake that you need to focus on the credentials of the people that you're going to entrust with your house. Because when I talk about some of these numbers, I'm talking about, $40,000, $50,000 a house that can either be made or lost. Let me just give you one example, and then we'll kick it off. We had a home inspection this week that came in on Monday, and they wanted $50,000 on the home inspection. $50,000. It was a $1.25 million house, and they wanted $50,000 in home inspection items. The document we're going to be talking about today, when they were presented with that document, we negotiated to $2,500. $2,500 out of a $50,000 request. Based on the documentation we provided, we ended up at $2,500. By the way, if you guys can remind me somewhere along the way to talk about the asbestos. I have some asbestos information I want to pass on to everybody. So when you're selling your house, it's not something friends do and neighbors do. It's something that professionals do that have skilled documents that can prove value, prove price, and go yada, yada, yada. So we'll get back to that, but that was just one example. Now, the first thing I want everyone to look at, we know it's a good market, but we still need to get our houses sold in the first 30 days. Now, I say 30 days, but what I mean is first 2 weeks, 3 weeks max. 30 days is too late. Now, if you guys can throw some charts up that I sent over to you. So this is a traffic chart. Now, we've got showing time, Facebook, Google Analytics. We have all these things, but I think this is the easiest chart for you to look at. Look at how many visitors there are in the first week and then how that drops off. So you see in week 3 and 4, and I think there's 2 of them up there. One is a longer one. But as it goes on, the traffic gets lower. So even if you adjust your price down the road, it just blips a little bit. You'll never get that big, massive push through your house. Now, in that push is your best buyer. Those are your perfect buyers. Those are the ones that are looking for that house in that neighborhood, at that price, in that school district. All things are perfect. That meets their criteria. Now, in the first week, they're looking at all the houses come in, and they're going like this. So we need to make them stop. We need to make them come and see the house. We really need to focus on that core group of people, and we need to focus on getting the best contract we can, at the best terms we can, and we need to do it now. And anyone that says different is living in 1985. In 1985, it took a long time for houses to get into the system, okay? And for everybody to see the house, it would take some time. It takes a couple weeks. And so the price is a little high, give yourself some wiggle room, was fine. Not today. Today, buyers see it like that. Julie activates our houses at about 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoons. By 6 o'clock, we start seeing all the showing times come in where people are looking at it, they see it, and before you know it, everybody's booking showings at these houses. And it starts right after Julie puts it on. I can tell you what happens. The notice goes out to the buyers. The buyer has automated emails set up in either Google, Realtor.com, MRIS. It hits them. They go on, they look at it. They like it. It's just what they want. They shoot it to their realtor and say, I want to see this house. Realtor books a listing, or they call us direct. And it all starts happening. Thursday nights are crazy. Friday, big showings. Saturday, big showings. Sunday, open house. Monday, contracts. And that's really the way it should work. And I was I get a little agitated. Sometimes a realtor walked into one of our houses, and they were taking great pride in the fact they just sold the house, but after 200 days, they sold the house. And he looked at us on Upham, and it was a $1.5 million house. In fact, theirs was a new house. Ours was a resale. And theirs was on the market for 200 days and sold significantly less than the list price of 1.5. Ours was 1.5. So, he let us know, it takes time to get these things sold. And I can tell you within 24 days, this one was under contract, not for significantly less than our list price of $1.5 million. And that has to do with the document I'm going to tell you about here in a few minutes. But so that's incorrect. It doesn't take 200 days to sell a house. It doesn't take 60 days to sell a house. It doesn't, the buyers are out there. We just need to find our buyer pool, price it right. Again, we'll talk about the document, and then make sure it's marketed to the right people. And when they come, that's when things happen. So if you look at the charts, we're trying to hit that first group of big buyers. As soon as they have that pool, we're trying to get them to make a move on that house. How powerful is it? Well, this week we had a house, and It hit the market on Thursday at 5 o'clock. By Friday morning, they had submitted a contract to us and wanted us to accept their contract without going through the open house. And they wanted to accept the contract. We usually wait for the open house. Can I get some? I'm sorry. Can I grab some water or something? Yeah, you just throw that one right there. There's one right there. Thank you. I got a tickle. Put it on Thursday afternoon last week. Calls. Contract comes in Friday morning. No, we're going to do the open house. What do we have to do in order for you not to do an open house? What do we have to do? Make us an offer we can't refuse. They made us an offer we can't refuse. And we took it. And it was a big one. And it was a very powerful contract. And that's what happens that first week. That is when sellers have the most leverage to push it up. Now, I can tell you what it's worth, and I can tell you that we received substantially more than I think it could have priced for. So that's why that first weekend. I mean, I had one time, and I tell this story, of the $875,000 house, and in the first weekend, the buyer wanted that house, so they offered us $875,000. And I informed the buyer that they had to give us their highest and best offer by Monday, which is a term you use when it looks like you have multiple contracts coming in. So she bumped her offer from $875,000 to $917,000. So that's $42,000 increase. She bumped her offer, and she was the only bidder. So that's the power. When I talk about making $40,000, that's what I'm talking about. That was a $42,000 profit for the seller. It did appraise for $875,000, as I anticipated, but they got $917,000 for it. So you know, the power of immediacy is important. Now, not all houses are going to get that. Sometimes we need to be patient with Upham. We needed to be a little patient. 1.5, big house, new house went on the market that went under contract that had been on for 200 days. So I'm sure it shook people a little bit. But when I produced this document, then the offer was dramatically increased, enough to satisfy the sellers, and away we went. So it's under contract. 24 days, by the way, not 200 days. Let's talk about this document. A seller doesn't really want to, a seller isn't greedy trying to get more than their house is worth, in most cases, 90% of the time. They just don't want to leave any money on the table. And a buyer, on the other hand, 90% of the time, they're not greedy. They're not trying to rip off a seller. All they want to do is make sure that when they buy the house, it's worth what they buy it for. That's why there's an appraisal. So they don't want to buy a $1.3 million house if it's only worth $1.25, right? So the whole key to everything is determining value. Now, I say this is like, I don't know, if you guys ever watch this show called Homicide Hunter. It's my favorite show. It's Joe Kenda. He solved 387 murders. So what happens is, arriving at the price or finding out what that price is kind of like solving a murder case, okay? There's evidence. There's suspects, okay? The suspects are the comps. We have to pick the right comps. We need to compare them. We need to really investigate. We need to look at all the pictures. We need to make sure all this stuff is correct. We need to match them up. And then all of a sudden, after all this investigation you've done, you have an aha moment where you know he did it. And as Joe Kenda would say, bingo. So he knows who murdered him. But the key is how to prove that person murdered. So it's one thing for us to know what the price is. It's another thing for us to prove it. Now, this document I'm talking about is the pricing document or the proof of value for this property. Now, let me just tell you how powerful this thing really is. So we had 4 properties this week that we made on just these 4, $160,000. So let me give you an example. There are 3 times when I need this very valuable document. The first thing is me and the seller need to arrive at our price. What is the actual price? Now in this model, you could take, they may think it's a comp from a year ago. and I'll put it in the model, and we'll see what would your house be worth if I compared it directly to that house. And we do that with all the comps. So every house is modeled out. So when we're done, we don't think we know what the price is. We are locked in. We know exactly what the house is worth. We can prove it, okay? So the first thing we need to do is prove it to the seller. Now, how valuable is that, all right? It is so valuable. Every seller I walk into, because they're emotionally involved, they have a lot of pride of ownership, they are not professional realtors, I would say to a man or woman, they feel their house is worth sometimes, you know, $40,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more than it's actually worth. Our average house sells for $975,000. So let's call it 5%, okay? 3 to 5%, they're sure their house is worth a little bit more. Now, either the seller or the wife thinks it's here and the other one thinks it's here. So our job is to find out what exactly is it worth? What is the proof of value, which is the document that will determine this, right? So we work real hard, we compare everything, we do it all, you know, it's all by hand. And we arrive at what our value is. Now, how powerful is that? So this house that we just sold was on the market for 6 months at 1.325. We look at the value and say, you know, the value is really 1.25. Well, I'd like a little bit more. Well, it's worth 1.25. And this is how many buyers there are under 1.25, and this is how many buyers there are over 1.25. So what we want to do is we want to be cognizant of the thresholds that we're dealing with, okay? Every time you go over $100,000, you lose 2 to 3 times the audience. So we want to be real thoughtful about that. So we're close enough to 1.25 that I said, let's do that. We looked at the document. It really said 125. So we agreed, and that's where we went to. A person had been looking for 2 years, right around the corner. For 2 years, they've been looking for a house. Their limit that they had in the computer was 1.25. They wouldn't go over 1.25, so they never even saw this house. As soon as we put it on the market at 1.25, they drove around the corner into the house, put in a contract, and exceeded the price so considerably that the sellers decided it was too good to pass up, and they took it off the market. So that's the power of knowing that what are we worth, and the sellers being smart enough to accept that and go under the $1.25 million barrier, and they were rewarded. I can't tell you how much that is right now because it's still a contract and it hasn't settled, so I can't give you the exact number. But I can say it was so significant that even I said, you got to take this off the market. Just take it. Take the money. So that's one way you do it. So the seller and I need to know exactly what this house is worth. Now, if that document says it's worth 1.25 and they say, hey, I want to list it at 1.325, then they just find another realtor and I'll come back in 6 months and then we'll list it at the proper price. And I don't do that being mean. It's just I only charge 4.5% to our sellers. So we need to be efficient with our resources. Julie, Michelle, Billy, me, the agents. So we're not going to pound our heads against a wall if we know for a fact that it's $75,000 overpriced. So, you know, that's the 10% that don't really care what it's worth. They just care what they want. Well, the market doesn't pay what you want. The market pays what it's worth. So, you know, 9 out of 10, we never have a problem, and we just go off at that number. And for that reason, 75%. Now, get this number. Wrap your arms around this. So our competitors that I usually compete with have put out about, on average, 7 listings so far since January 1. We put out 24. Tonight, it'll go up to 28, I think. You're launching 4 today? 4? So we'll go up to 28. Okay, 75% of the houses that we currently have under contract sold in the first weekend. I think there's 18 probably under contract right now. We're ratified 2 again last night. So we're probably about 18, 19 of those. So of the 6 that are still not sold, I can tell you I know why those didn't sell. But the vast majority are all under contract and everything's beautiful because they're putting it on for what the market will pay. Now, so that made the sellers there X amount of dollars just like that. Now, let's talk about the next phase of when this important pricing document comes into effect. We had a person bring us in a contract on a house that we had listed at $1.35 million. And they said, we'll give you 1.3. And I sent this pricing document to them, which proved that what our house was worth, where it's 1.343. And it was in great condition, so we said 1.35. I sent the document to the buyer. They upped their offer $35,000. We didn't counter offer anything. We just sent them the document, and they sent us back $35,000 upgrade on their offer. We settled for something close to that, and that was sold. So normally it would be, well, they're coming in at 1.3, we're at 1.35, you want to start in the middle and, end up wherever. No. Let me tell you exactly what the house is worth, send them the document, tell them what it's worth, and then that's what we'll get. So they upped their offer, $35,000. All I did was send them the document. I had a $1.5 million house. They sent an offer for $1.25 million, okay? I'm sorry, let me go back. I had an offer, a house on, for $1.5 million. They brought in an offer for $1.425, $75,000 under market value. We sent them the document. Break something? I think I just blew this up. Still working? Testing, similis. So the $1.425 million offer came back so high after I sent them this document because the seller and I looked at each other after 2 weeks and said it didn't sell. It's just a more expensive house, and we did have the new home sale. So I looked at the model again. I said, just be patient. It is worth that. That's what it's worth. That's what it says it's worth. That's what it's worth. So we dug our heels in and just stayed where we were. 2 days later, we get the contract. It comes in at $1.425. We were very confident in our price. We sent them the pricing document. They sent us back an offer so high that we accepted the offer. Now, that happens all the time. I mean, when you hire a realtor, and everybody, you're thinking about the wrong stuff. You're thinking about how much am I paying in commission. Stop thinking about that. You're hiring an advocate for your house. So whether it's me or somebody else or, that person has to defend the price of the house. They need to defend the assets of the house, the defining characteristics of the house. They have to sell that house. They have to sell that price. So we're not taking no for an answer. In fact, the third time you're going to need this document was proven. We finished this yesterday. Again, the first time you need it is for us to prove what the price is to ourselves. The second one, with the help of the seller. The second one is when somebody brings us an offer, they don't know how to determine value, so I'm going to determine it for them. I'm going to send them a document that within a shadow of a doubt, everybody knows what the house is worth. So that's the second time you need it. The third time you need it is when you get a home inspection. So we had a home inspection that came back Monday, and they wanted $50,000 worth of items. $50,000, 50. So we sent them the pricing document to say what the house is really worth, the contract price, the value, da-da-da-da-da. And we settled yesterday at $2,500. So they wanted $50,000, and we got them down to $2,500, saving the seller $47,500 off of what they were asking for. And that document was the catalyst or the proof of why we're not paying $47,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is. So, this document, when you're determining value and slipping under the right threshold, when you're proving your price to a contract that's coming in, another perfect example. We ratified one this morning. We came out at $850. Contract came in at. Let me back up. We're going to add at $870. I said it's worth $850. That's what the pricing document said. Offer comes in $825. I send them out the pricing document, and they say, well, we'll do $835. Seller says, no, it's worth $850. Go away, we'll get another contract come in. They came back this morning, $850 ratified contract. So again, $15,000 may not be a lot to some people, but it is to most of my clients. It is to me. So we fight for that $15,000, right? Because we have to defend this house. Let's go back to the inspection portion of this. A lot of times, let me stop right now, and I'm going to go to something that came up in one of our inspections this week that I think everybody needs to be aware of, and that is asbestos. So we had a mold inspection done. There's no mold, but there's asbestos. They have asbestos in the basement. Now, to most of us, asbestos sounds like shingles falling out of the thing, causing cancer and all of that stuff. Asbestos is in a lot of some of the flooring, okay? Now, when the flooring cracks, okay, now, the buyer agent wanted to come in, nice enough person, not trying to railroad anybody, but wanted it remediated, okay? Well, asbestos is not dangerous unless it's airborne or unless it's broken or chipping or something like that. So the remedy for asbestos basement tiling is to put a new tile floor down there on top of it. So the new, I forget what we call it, the laminate tiles that look like wood and all that, they're great. They're fantastic for these basements. So for $1,200, you could do the whole basement floor and brand new flooring. It'd be great, covers the whole thing, and you never have to worry about a thing. So what would the seller rather do? Spend $1,200 on the flooring, give them a credit, or have to remediate, which could cost $6,000. Well, you know, we come up with a solution that's going to save everybody money, not put anybody at risk, and actually the buyers get a new floor out of it, and it's going to look great. So, but if you hear the word asbestos, don't freak out. Whether you're buying or selling, don't freak out. Asbestos should be really covered. So it's usually found in the tiles in the basement floors. I'm not an expert on asbestos, but my research found that out. And covering it is what the 4 experts that I talked to said to do. And they make money remediating, but they said, look, just put a floor on top of it, and then it keeps it suppressed, then you don't have to worry about it. Then it's safe as can be. So that's the solution. So in the inspection portion of this, Julie, with every listing, says the age of it's called hot sheet, the age of all stuff you have, roofs, appliances, you know, everything. Because when it comes back, they're going to say this is at or past its useful life. That's what the home inspector is going to say. In this case, they wanted $40,000 for a new roof. Well, we disclosed the roof was 18 years old at the time. So 18-year-old roof is not news to anybody. So it was in the price that we didn't have a new roof. So we're not going to pay for it twice. So if you're selling and you're selling with somebody else and we have a home inspection, you know, you take the items that are broken and fix them, and you take the items that are wear and tear and disclose up front before, you know, in the listing, so that way it's in the price. If they say 1.2, it's 1.2, but that reflects that you don't have a new roof and you don't have a new HVAC unit because we've already told you that. So, so you don't come back and pay for that twice. These are the reasons. Let me just take a breath here for a minute. But I have to tell you, it's exciting. It's exciting to have a house that you value and your seller trusts you, and somebody comes in $75,000 under value, and you use the documents that you created to prove the value, and they increase it so high that the seller's willing to take that thing, and we never even have to counter. That's good stuff. I mean, it's very exciting. It's very rewarding to pop $70,000 for a seller, or another $50,000, or, you know, $30,000, or instead of sitting on the market for 6 months, they sell in the first weekend. It is the reason I haven't taken a day off in 60 days. I mean, it's just, there's, you know, we're busy, it's working, but it's very fulfilling and it's a lot of fun. So sometimes not so fun, sometimes it's fun. Okay, let's talk about the other main issue. What time are we now? We're at 10 o'clock, so I got a half hour, right? Half hour. All right. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about de-aging the house and how we made money again on that this week, or you want to talk about the business models for all the realtors? Julie wants business models. Actually, she's over there going, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm looking at Facebook. I'm not watching you. Are you tweeting? All right, live tweeting. All right, we're going to go, let's do this. Let's go with business models, okay? And this is when you pay a realtor. If you don't want to listen to this, it's going to go on for about 10 minutes. Go get another cup of coffee and come back, and then we'll finish this out by talking about de-aging your house. Everybody, whether you're going to sell your house or not sell your house, you need to de-age your house. I'm going to tell you why you do it, how you do it, what items are involved in it, what are cosmetic versus capital improvements, because you know, I don't have the heart to tell this one gentleman put in a $50,000 basement in his house to sell it, but you don't make a $50,000 capital improvement in your house because you're only going to get back $25,000 or $30,000 for it. I really didn't have the heart to say it, but those are the facts. So again, you want to talk to us long before you make a capital improvement to your house or long before you make any cosmetic changes to know what it is you should do to your house before you sell it, or if you just want to live in a newer feeling house. So I'm going to go to business model. So you all go away, have your coffee, and you can come back in a little while. This is for the realtors or people that are selling their houses. Back in the day, back when I was an old young man, you know, we deserved 6%. And that's usually what everybody got. Some got 7, but most got 6. And because we had a lot of work to do. I mean, we didn't have the internet, so we had to drive people around in cars looking at houses. Kids were dropping stuff in our back seat. I had a kid drop I don't know what he was doing with an ice cream cone in my car, but he dropped an ice cream cone in my car. So we had to do that. We had to drive to houses with contracts, handwritten contracts, which were 2 pages, by the way. Now they're 24. So we'd write the contract. We have to go to the seller's house at night, and we'd present the contract, and then sitting in the next room are 2 other realtors with contracts, and we'd present, and you know, all this stuff. And then if they accepted, we had to take our contract, and we have to drive it to our buyer's house. We have to get them to initial it and drive it back. If I ever had to do that today. Everything's done electronically today. So back in the day, yes, we had to do a lot of work. We really deserve every penny. We earned it. We did earn that money. Now, there are agents that have been around for those 30 years. I mean, you know, they've done $1 billion or $2 billion worth of business. That's a lot of business. That's a big clientele. They've worked hard. They deserve it. If they want to charge 6% to their existing clientele, knock yourself out. I think that's wonderful. But the sellers are paying for, that's a loyalty, okay? Now the younger agents that come in and they're going to work for a big name realtor and say we're worth 6%, you know, you don't hire companies to sell houses, you hire agents. The agents are the people that are going to sell your house. Long and Foster agents go all the way from this to this, best to worst. So does Samson Properties, so does Remax, so does everybody, best to worst. You hire an agent, not a company. So for newer agents to step in and say, I'm worth the money, and here's how I'm worth the money, to me is ridiculous. So I do think that some of the older, more experienced agents that have a clientele, it's their loyal clients, they're going to pay 6%. God willing, knock yourself out, do it. But today's market, according to Real Trends, which is the statistical group for the Wall Street Journal, they gather all the things from who are the top realtors, to what are the commissions they pay, to, you know, they do all that stuff. The average commission today is 5.12%. 5.12%. So some will say, well, 5% is discount, 4.5% is discount. Discount on what? That's the going rate. Now, when you take into account, you know, this is a long event, some realtors still have a huge pipeline of people that are loyal to them that are still going to pay 6. When you compete for a listing, when there's 3 realtors competing for a listing, it's 4.5 to 5%. That's just what it is. And you know, so let's look at some of the models. Now you've got a Redfin. They're coming out with a new model. Now the Redfin model is they have somebody that's going to meet you and talk to you, I don't know, I guess in a listing appointment. Then there's another person that's going to handle this, another person can handle that. And those are called transaction coordinators, okay? So a transaction coordinator is somebody that's getting paid by the hour. And do you really, I don't want $50,000 at stake when somebody offers me $75,000 less than my list price. I don't want a transaction coordinator trying to do my contract. I don't want that negotiator. I want to meet who's going to negotiate my contract. I want to know what you're going to say, what your experience is, what's your model, what's your plan, how are we going to go after this, what is all that. So to say one person's going to do this, another one's going to do this, another one's going to do this, and all the way down the line, to me, I don't feel comfortable with that. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. Now in our team, okay, there's other teams, so you'll see a team. And what is a team? A team is basically one person that has a bunch of agents that work with them, okay? Now there are big teams. I'm not going to name any of them, but you'll hear them on the radio and they guarantee to buy your house if you don't sell it and all this other stuff. But by and large, it's one person at the top and 40 agents underneath, and they all put all their business under that agent's name, and that way that agent can appear in the Wall Street Journal as doing $150 million. So what's that team's model? Well, I got all these agents out there, they're putting it under my name. We use my name as the big, we're number one, but really you're dealing with that agent. Now, the reason why I cut my team off and let other agents go is because I only want 7 people working with me. And each one of them is a top producing agent, and I'll talk about how we work, but the other big teams, they have, well, let me give you an example. You meet agents that aren't the principal. They price it. Nobody's getting one of my listings. You're not going to get my name on your house unless I've seen it, I've priced it, talked to you about the condition, we've said it properly, and everything is good, and Julie has our marketing plan, and we're locked and loaded on the runway. So you can't afford to do that if you have a big team and you're doing 350 transactions. The principal will never do that. So I'm not comfortable with the big team concept, okay? I think the quality control suffers. I think that, let me give you one example. One team says, if we can't sell your house, we'll buy it. Okay, last year they had 336 houses withdraw unsold. Now, if your house goes on the market and you have to withdraw it unsold, that is a tough thing to do. That is hard on your emotions. It is hard on the eventual value of your house. You have to clean your house. You have to be, show ready all the time. It's draining on a seller. I've sat with them after this has happened. It's a horrible, horrible experience. That is a testimony to why I don't think big teams work. I just don't. I mean, to have a whole office put all your stuff on one person's name so they can say they're number one, and then they go out and try and get business, not going to happen. I mean, I even trust my agents, but I've got to be at every house. I've got to be at every house. So the big teams, I'm not thrilled with that concept, okay? The big agents, so you have big agents, big names. You'll see them everywhere. They look great. They're rock stars. I mean, they're rock stars in the middle of rock stars. That's who they are. And they've been around a long time, and it's all under their name, and they don't have a team. They take it individually. Well, the reason why I couldn't handle that is because every house has about 100 or 140 touch points. So you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. Well, each one of those, I don't have the time or the energy or basically the skill set to handle every little detail in there. So what happens? If you're one agent and you have $75 million worth of houses, you can't pay attention to every house. You just can't do it. So I couldn't do it. And the fact is, when I look at it, you got $55 million worth of unsold real estate, I don't think they can do it either. So I didn't want to be an individual that stacked up a ton of things, be rock star, go in the newspaper, go in the magazines, and so that I couldn't do. So this team concept of the small teams, where you'll see some where there's a principal, and they have about 5 or 6 or 7 people, And what happens is the principal should give you a pricing document, and that's the pricing document that proves our price to us, proves the price to the contracts coming in, and it proves the price during the home inspection period. So that's the person that will price it, will do it, will walk the house, will tell you what you need to do. And then the person with them, hopefully, is a top producer that has $10, $15, $20 million a year under their belt, and they handle those 140 details of that property. So to me, the small team is the best way to go. Now, let's talk about how these teams work with their brokers. So a broker, Keller Williams, Long and Foster, a Weicker, gets a percent, Coldwell Banker gets a percentage of the agent's income. So let's say I'm going to make 3 points. Well, the company's going to take a percentage of that because that's what they make. But some companies are 100%. So for big top producers, they'll say, I don't want any of your commission money, but you have an admin fee on every deal, and we use their settlement title company because we love the settlement title company. We use their lender because we love their lender. So for all the stuff we do, we're worth it to them to bring in business for all the other ancillary businesses that we have because they're good and they're professionals and we use them. If they weren't good, we would not use them. And if Mike Filan wasn't good, he wouldn't be sitting in my office. I'd find the best loan officer I could and put him on our team to handle our clients. Turns out that's Mike Filan. You want a guy that calls you back from the Outer Banks? It's Mike Filan. So a nicer person, a better, a more professional guy we couldn't have. We love Mike. So I feel that I can control, these 7 professional agents. They're awesome. They're fantastic. So each one of them, top producer in their own right, they handle the details. When a contract comes in, like this week, yeah, we pumped a premium on this one house. Yes, we negotiated from $50,000 down to 2.5. That's what I'm here for. That's my job. My job is to negotiate. So Pat's a great negotiator. He's on our team. Pat the other day got somebody from $850,000 contract and he had a lot of bidders, and he got him up over $915,000. So, I mean, each person in their own right is a rock star on the team. So it works well. Now, we're up 70% from last year. And I'm pretty bored. Because the other, it goes on, it's marketed, it's under contract, it's sold, we have it next. So because we don't take bad listings and don't have bad sellers, everything goes as planned. In most cases, it goes as planned and everything rolls pretty smooth. The only thing that really kicks our tail is when poor Julie, when Michelle goes out of town and we're launching 4 listings, that gets a little touchy. But normally, that kind of workload is no problem when we have Billy and Michelle and a strong back office. And by the way, I'll just stop. A small team, another benefit of a small team is we do enough business. You do 85 or 95 million, you can afford to have professionals. So Julie is the longest tenured employee at Samson Properties. She has been here longer than anybody, and she's an expert at social media and marketing and our branding. And are you blushing?
No, I said I'm not that old, though.
She's not that old. She started here when she was 14, right, I guess? Is that a recovery? But she is the longest tenured person here at the company, and we're lucky enough to have her. But it does take the combined effort of me and the other agents to produce enough money to afford Michelle, to afford Julie, to afford Billy and the support staff that we have. So because we do this much business, every seller benefits from having Julie, and every seller benefits, whether it's throwing your stuff on Google Ads or whatever. They all get the benefit of having her up there. So let's go back to this business model. So the relationship that we have with our broker, which is Samson Properties, is we don't give them any commission. So if they're not charging us, we don't charge the seller. So that's why we can offer 4.5% to the seller and we'll just take the normal fee that we would normally make and give it to the seller. Well, what that does is it increases our volume. It makes us more efficient because now we can take better listings because everybody's, most of the people will go with our team, and everything is smooth. So it's a win-win-win-win-win, and that's because Danny doesn't charge us any money, so I don't have to charge the sellers any money. By the way, Danny's such a rock star, and every seller in Northern Virginia should thank their lucky stars for Danny Samson, because let me tell you something. In 2002, he came up with this concept of 4.5% full service listings. Back in that day, there was 4.5% listings, but they would only put it in the computer and they wouldn't come to your house. It was very limited stuff that they would do. But Danny said, no, we're going to do everything that a 6% a full service agent does, only we're going to charge 4.5%. And the reason is buyers are seeing the houses on the internet. They're coming directly to the listing agents. The prices are higher. The sales are going faster. So in that time, 4.5%, Danny actually brought in professionals like Bernie Kagan, Kim Spears, Carolyn Capalbo, Donnie Sampson, all of these really good professionals, and they were doing $30 million a year in their first year. They came from banking industry or, luxury shoe sales or whatever. And they came in and they were just making just incredible money. So what happened was even the big full service, people had to adjust their models and their commission structure because the Samson Properties agents were actually delivering full service at 4.5%. So, if you look at, we do $2.5 billion a year right now on that model, then there's a lot of people that should be thankful to Danny Samson that not only do we not charge, but it forces everybody else to charge less money on their commission. So, agents may, get angry or something. 4.5%. It is what it is. It is what it is. We make plenty of money at 4.5%, so we're fine. So, anyways, so the relationship with the broker. So if you're sitting down with a large name broker, then chances are a portion of their commission has to go to their broker. So they need to charge you so they can make their money and give the balance to their thing. Now, should they acquiesce and go down to 5%, well, it gets really razor thin when the broker is participating. I couldn't do it. If I was paying the broker, I couldn't do it. But it gets razor thin, the money that they make on a listing to provide the kind of social media marketing, Google ads, and all the rest of that stuff that you really have to do. So that's kind of the way it is right now. The average is 5.12%. If you're working with a small team, I think it's better than a big team. I think it's better than a big agent. And if somebody comes into your house and says, I'm worth 6%, and they spend the next half hour, 45 minutes trying to tell you why they're worth 6%, then ask them to go. Because I think there's plenty of really good agents out there that aren't doing that. Now, so let's go back. So let's talk about then when you talk about these business models and commissions and all that stuff. Stop focusing on commissions. Don't focus on the commission. I want you to focus on pricing, okay? It doesn't matter what the commission is. If your house isn't priced right, you're going to get hosed. And I mean you're going to get hosed good. So you want to be very careful. Remember that chart? Buyers first week, buyers second week, buyers third week, and buyers fourth week. If you're trying to sell your house out there in the 60-day range, there's nobody left. I mean, it's very few people are coming to see your house anymore. So you're kind of whistling in the wind. So it's very, very, very important that not only you have a price, but you need to make them prove the price. Because if they can't prove it to you, they're not going to be able to prove it to the selling agent or the home inspector when the time comes. I'm telling you, that document made $160,000 this week on 4 houses, 160 grand. So if they come in with something called RPR, that's Realtor Property Resource, if they say, this says your house is worth $850,000 and I got a 27-page report that'll prove it, forget about it. Just forget it. On every thing I do, I show. This is what RPR says it's worth. This is what Zillow says it's worth, Trulia, Redfin. This is what all the websites. They can't get within $100,000, within 10% of each other. They're all over the place. I mean, I had one that was a $1.1 million house. Somebody said it was worth $128, and one said it was $980. Well, that's $200,000 difference on that house. So you can't trust the websites. I mean, don't even read them. Just stay away from them. We'll use them if we can, if we need it. But if it says we're worth 1.2, we're really worth 1.1. Yeah, we'll throw it out there and say, hey, Zillow says we're worth 1.2. We're expecting more than 1.1. So, but in reality, you need to have them prove to you that it's worth it. So work with the agent that can prove the price the most. Now, next, let's go. Now we're going to go to that last phase. I got 10 minutes left. Now we're going to go to the next phase. There's 3 pillars you worry about. The pricing is important. Having a pricing document that can defend your price is critical. Now we move to the condition of the house, and then we talk about marketing. I'm not going to talk about marketing today. I'm going to talk about the condition in the last 10 minutes. Billy and I walked into a house that was worth $825,000 as is. I mean, as it sat, it was worth $825,000, and we'd be lucky to get it. The seller went to work. We had it painted. We put the flooring in the kitchen. He did some this. He did some that, and we went out at $875 and got a contract in excess of $875. So let's just say that we made at least $65,000. Now it cost about $7,000 or $8,000 to fix up, but he did it and it worked. So again, I tell you, if you could go to Las Vegas and you could say, I'll give you $10,000, and the worst case, if you lose, you get your $10,000 back. But if you win, you get back $70,000. Would you make that bet? Leslie, would you make that bet? All right, let me tell you again, Leslie. If you went to Las Vegas and you gave them, and the bet was, I give you $10,000, and if I lose, I get my $10,000 back. But if I win, I get $70,000 back. Would you make that bet? Yeah, you borrow the money from your mom and dad and go and make that bet, wouldn't you? All right, I would too, if I had a mom and dad. All right, that's what doing cosmetic surgery to your house is worth. It's worth at least 6 to 7 to 1 return. Painting your home is a 10 to 1 return. Now, I walked into a house and the guy, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything to that house. And when I said you got to paint the foyer and the living room and the dining room, you'd have thought I had a horn growing out of my head, But here's the fact. No buyer wants to do that. Buyers don't want to do it. So you don't want to do it. So of course the buyers aren't going to do it. So you can put it on, and they're going to take a huge amount of money off the price of that house, and then they don't want to do it, so you're going to struggle to sell the house. Whereas if you just call a painter and put Revere pewter in these rooms and classic gray in the hallways and put some knobs, change them from gold to this, blah, 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 your house would sell. If he invested $5,000 or $6,000, he'd get back another 50, 60 grand. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. The people that drink it, and I'm telling all of you, you need to think about it, and you need to make that investment in the cosmetic surgery of updating your house from 2002 to 2010, from 1985 to 2000. You need to update your house. You need to just, and I'm not talking about new kitchens and new bathrooms. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about cosmetic surgery, which is, how do we do it? Okay, the hardware. If you have gold hardware around your house, get rid of that. If you've got gold plumbing fixtures, get rid of those. They should be brushed nickel. And I know there's matte black and newer stuff, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to emulate what the nice houses have. So, we don't have to have everything, but we're just trying to emulate it. If we could put in new hardware on the doorknobs, if we could, and the hinges, if we could get the plumbing fixtures out of there, if you take the lighting fixture that's been up there since 1995, get rid of that and put in a recessed light, or you do, a globe which costs $250, put that in the dining room or in the kitchen. Now your house goes from traditional to transitional and starts to modernize. It starts to update. And in the pricing model, if your house goes from 1985 and you update it to a 1995 or 2000, now the price goes up dramatically. I mean, it goes up that 25 or, you know, 25, 35, $45,000. So the house today that we launched, or last week we launched, we got our contract in, that one made about 6 to 1 on a $10,000 investment. The one we did for 1.385 that she put $10 in, sold for 1.45. $65,000. So we keep doing this over and over and again. And sometimes they'll look at me like I'm an idiot, and it's like, okay, that's okay. It's just, I just write it off and say it's just 10%, just relax, close, you know, be nice, and end the conversation and move on. Because, you know, to be honest with you, it's such solid advice that I still want to take houses that just look bad. You know, the seller's going to get crushed. They're not going to get what they want. It's going to be a very unhappy situation. It's going to sit on the market for a long time. I've been there. I mean, it's hard. It's hard, and I just can't drag the whole team through that kind of event. So you know, but the houses that are priced right and in a proper condition. I'm not talking about new. I'm just talking about a proper condition. They're going to sell. What are some other things in there? So the lighting, plumbing, and again, I'm just talking cosmetic stuff. Hardware, declutter is free. Some area rugs that you want to put in, the real modern ones, the geometric ones. By the way, let me tell you this. Don't paint your house until you talk with us or a professional. We walk into houses where they just painted it. A 1995 color, and there's nothing we can do about it. So please don't spend $10,000 painting your house only to paint the wrong color of the house, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to look like 2010 or 2015, not what the colors that were popular in 1995. That is not what the buyers are buying. So God bless you, man. I mean, we'll walk into houses and the painters are just finishing up, and we are like, oh my gosh, why? Call us first. Wall hangings. We walked into a house that we launched last week. We launched last Thursday at this time, and we walked into the house, and I could have sworn they bought all new furniture and all new everything. I said, was this the same furniture that was here last time? I said, yes. Is that the same table that was here last time? Yes. They put up this cool wall hanging on the wall, a metal kind of, I don't know if you call it sculpture. It's just a metal piece they put on the wall. It's really cool. And an area rug from Wayfair. Geometric look, cool. And the whole thing popped. And they got an offer they couldn't refuse before. I mean, we only had 4 people walk in that house. And before we could get anybody in there, it was under contract, because they made us an offer we couldn't refuse. And it's not just the rug and this, but I'm telling you, it showed so well. It was so powerful. And I think the total investment on that stager was $1,500. I'll bet they made 40 grand. I'll bet that stager made them $40,000. And you can go on and look at it. What's the address? Huh? It's in the comments? Gotta look in the comments. Julie put up a link to this house. Look at the living room and look at how cool that looks. And it did not look cool when Billy and I first walked in that house. But I'm telling you, this is so, you know, stagers, I'm not a big stager guy. But for some houses, I am. I mean, we just need a little pop. We need a little pizzazz. We need a little something. And so when a person comes in here to stage this room or that room and, you know, just dart this up, yeah, it's $1,500. Yeah, it's $2,000. But if it returns this massive investment, and I will tell you that it does, then we need to consider it and use it. But again, I don't use that many. Last thing I'm going to close with, and I got 1 minute. I'm going to probably run over a little bit. All right, here's the closing. regional or neighborhood. You have friends, you have uncles, you have neighbors, you have people in the bridge club, you have coaches on the football team, you have all these people that sell real estate, right? Interview 3. Don't go with your buddy. Don't go with your friend. Don't go with your dad. Don't go with anybody. Don't go with somebody that doesn't do this 24/7. The regional small teams have to be able to go anywhere. I don't care if it's Haymarket or Annandale or Fairfax or whatever. You need to take that house. You have a very limited market that you can only capture the things, and they need to be professionals at capturing the proper apples to compare to each other in order to do a pricing document. They need to be able to do it, and sometimes a neighborhood person or somebody that doesn't do a lot of business, they don't have that. They don't do that. We do that for a living, okay? They don't have social media. They don't have Facebook. They don't have Google ads. They don't have reports. They don't have showing time. They don't have, how are we going to stage this house and make it look like everybody does? The people like our team that do 100, 120 transactions a year, they do this every day. So it doesn't matter whether it's Annandale or Fairfax or Lake Barcroft. We launched a $1.6 million one on Lake Barcroft today, right? Yeah. So, it doesn't matter where it is. I would interview a good regional team around your area, okay? So we don't go into Old Town Alexandria, but we cover most everything from Haymarket, I guess, all the way, now to Annandale, But we're big in Vienna. I think we've done, We do Percyville. Let me tell you something. This is an example, Julie. Thank you. This is a perfect example. I love you, Julie. All right. We go to Percyville. My daughter, Kelly, one of our star agents, lives in Percyville. There's a big neighborhood over there and, some agents that do a lot of business over there. So we interviewed one of the sellers along with them. And I went in, and the average days on market in that neighborhood is 60 days. 60 days on the market. Now, if you look at the chart that I'm showing you that shows big traffic first, and then it drops off. Where are we in 60 days? Why are local neighborhood experts taking 60 days to sell a house that should be sold in a weekend? Now, so we, again, pricing document, put it on the market, blast it out on the social media, set it up the way we wanted it, take it from traditional to transitional. And I don't know if it was 4 contracts or 5 contracts. And, I don't know if I'm losing my compassion, but I'm going for the biggest number, right? Well, one of the people wrote a letter to the seller, very nice, about her family and all that stuff. So the seller took less to get this family in the house and really felt like a mother-to-mother bond contact. But she was able to pick the contract she wanted, and whether it was money or a relationship with the buyer, she got what she wanted in the first weekend. There is no reason to go more than 2-3 weekends. I mean, it really should. There's only one house. We've launched 29. There's only one house that I'm perplexed at. I cannot understand why it's not getting traffic. I'm kicking myself. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not going any lower on the price. The price is where it is. We're marketing the heck out of it. It just, for some reason, it's just not getting traffic. So we're struggling with that, but that's 1 out of 29. So I'm not, it's an epiphany is what it is. It's an epiphany. So when you are looking to list with somebody, make sure it's a small team. Make sure you're going to meet with the principal. Make sure they're going to approve the price and have a pricing document that will survive putting it on the correct list price, defending it against the buyer, and then defending it against the home inspection, and has the proper marketing tools. So go for all of that. Please don't. I mean, you can, but there's too much money at stake. There's just too much money at stake. You should hire a professional, not somebody you know. In fact, I'll be honest with you, my best friend is Cliff Dumas. And he was going to sell his house. I wouldn't sell it. I'm not going to sell his house. And they were after me, and I was like, no, man, you're my friend. I don't want to do it because I have to tell you what to do. Right out of the gate, basement. Didn't get a permit. Got to force them to get a permit. Got to get a permit. Got a permit. Got to price it. And it's sold, and everything is fine, and we're still, buddies and all. But I don't want to do friends because it's kind of like I have to, every time I try and do something nice, we have 2 listings. Lady's very upset that it should only go out at $699. She wanted more than that. So Casey, nice guy, came in and said, okay, we'll do $710. I should punch myself in the face. The buyer pool is not big. It's not getting the showing it needs. It didn't get a contract. We're into our 3rd week. Should have just gone $699. I showed compassion again. Every time I show compassion, I pay for it. So if I kind of seem cold in the process of pricing it, it's for all of our best interest that we arrive at the right price so we can defend that price. And when I start trying to help out a friend or get them what they blows up in our face. Did I miss anything? The pricing model is proprietary. The document that I send out, I release only at listing presentations, and I send it to agents that are in contract negotiation with us. We do not, we don't let anybody, we're not going to let it out. It's taken me years and years to develop the proper algorithms and numbers and all that crap. So that is proprietary. Thank you, Julie. You can reach me at 703-508-2535, Casey at CaseySamson.com. Go to CaseySamson.com to check anything you want to know about pricing or condition. If you're thinking about fixing your house up a little bit, Julie's got a great thing on our website where if you go to our prepare your home for sale, okay, it'll have traditional to transitional, but then she's got links to Pinterest. And Pinterest shows all the living rooms, dining rooms, floorings, everything you'd want to look, all the lamps, everything that we do and set up houses. Those are all homes that we've sold, and they really, really look cool. So it'll just give you kind of a flavor for what we're trying to achieve when we're trying to sell your house. Okay? Is that good? All right. Casey Samson signing off. Again, Leslie, thank you very much for, and again, let me just tell you one thing. I say this as a football coach, and I'll say it again. If coaches want to look smart, they have great players. Great players make coaches look smart. Bad players make coaches look very dumb. So the reason we look smart, we look like we know what we're doing, Julie does an incredible job. She's a big-time professional. So is Michelle. And Leslie, who is the social media person here at Samson Properties, makes all this happen. And she, having great people like Leslie and Julie and everybody making this go, it's rare to have a team that good. It's rare to have the 7 people on my team: Billy Samson, Kelly Samson, Morgan, Colby, Pam, Shana, Pat. They're absolutely just make my life easy. So if you need any help, give me a call. If not, we'll see you next month on Coffee with Casey.